my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to me being my own validation. That's right, I'm validating myself. In a recent video, I believe I titled it, "My Reader Brain is Torturing Me and BookTube Doesn't Help," I talked about how I've been struggling with the books I've been picking. I've really gotten caught up in this idea of I need to read a minimum of X amount of books per month, like it's a competition, and I'm trying to keep up with other booktubers, some of whom can read upwards of 20. And because I'm so obsessed with that number, I've picked very short books, and only some of them I was really interested in. And on the other side, I'm ignoring books that I'm really interested in that are bigger. I am recording this in February, obviously, and I have yet to read a single book over 350 pages. Now, I can average usually about 100 pages a day, give or take. And I literally think of books in that mindset now, where if I see a book that's like, okay, this is 280 pages, I'll round up and be like, okay, that's 3 days of reading. And when a book is upwards of 400 or even 500 pages, I get really iffy. I'm like, I can't read that much. Like, I won't be able to read that many books if I take 5 days for a single book. And it's gotten in my head, and I'm ignoring so many cool books that I'm really interested in. So I was thinking to myself in that video, I don't know what to do, and how do I stop this? And then I had like an on-screen epiphany. And I was like, all right, I'll do what every booktuber does when they're having this issue. I'll do what every booktuber does when they want to change their own habits. I'll make it a challenge, and I'll make that challenge content, because that's how you get the validation from yourself and random people that watch your videos. Regardless, so this is my maximum March challenge. I do not have a minimum for this month. I assume I'll read at least a couple books, but my maximum is 8. I cannot read more than 8 books over the course of March. So my idea here is A, I won't feel the need to read a bunch of small books because then I'll run out of books. And B, I'll be really, really careful about what books I pick, making sure that I pick the ones that I genuinely really want to read. Now, I don't have a set TBR, mostly because I'm not the kind of reader that works well with the set TBR. I burn out on it really quickly, and I've actually found a lot of joy in saying I'm going to read X, Y, and Z books for my TBR and then changing them like it feels like an act of rebellion, even though I decided to do that redesign in the first place. But I want to talk about at least a couple of the books that I'm really hoping to get to, and only a couple of them are actually review books, which is usually strange for me. Usually I read way more review books in a month, which is why I might end up being closed for a little bit longer. But I'm telling myself that it's fine. No one's going to really be mad if I'm closed for a little bit longer. I'm not the only indie reviewer. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, let's jump into some of the books I'm hoping to get to over the course of my maximum March. I will start with the one that I think is the most mainstream, if I'm going to pull out all my hipster vocabulary, and that is The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee. Like every other millennial, I was super obsessed with Avatar: The Last Airbender as a kid. Where are my Earth buddies at? But I haven't done a lot with the universe or the fandom moving forward. I haven't watched Korra or any of that, but when I saw this, I was so super intrigued because Kyoshi was one of my favorite avatars. I loved that she was the one woman avatar you saw in the series. She lived the longest, I believe. She was like 90 or something, and she was just badass. And the few bits of her you do get to see in the show, she's fantastic. And Earth Kingdom is my kingdom. So I had to get this, or rather I had to ask for it for Christmas and get it from family. I love Christmas when you don't like buying traditionally published books. And also, I need to get more own voices Asian books on my TBR. So I'm really happy to do this one. I'm really excited for this one. And hopefully I can now read this over 400-page book because I've limited myself. Up next is one of my review books that I've had on there for a hot minute, but it's a little bit of a chonker, and that is Wildcat by J.P. Harker. This is all about a fantasy version of whales, essentially, and I really was interested in that because a lot of historical fantasy tends to be this kind of weird gray, ye olden times and ye olden place. And the author was like, nope, this is exactly the time period this is set in, right at the beginning of the height of the Roman Empire. This is exactly the place it's set in. These are the cultures that I used, and I loved that. Also, I have a little bit of Welsh in me, like far back. I know next to nothing about the culture, but I know it's there, so I'm really interested to see a little bit of that. But again, this is a chonker. How many pages are we standing at here? Over 500. Yes, we are over 500. So I probably would have taken my sweet time getting around to this without this challenge, but I'm thinking because it's a nice chunky book that will have a lot going on, and I know it has the trope of warrior who was retired to have the family life is pulled back into the fray by outside forces, but in this case, that warrior is a woman, and I love when like stereotypical tropes are turned on their head, either like made queer or gender bent, so I'm really excited for that. I don't think this is queer. She's married to a man, but like, if someone wants to do that trope, but queer, I'm listening. Up next is the sequel to a book that I have reread pieces of forever because I loved the ending so much, and I kept telling myself that I need to go on to the next one, but it was over 500 pages. I think the sequel is like nearly 600 pages, and that is Children of Lilith, Book of Bedlam by Lauren Devora. I read the first one of this in December, specifically for the book over 500 pages prompt, and I think it counted for like a couple others, so I could kind of like convince myself to go for it, but I loved it. Super ultra angsty. We have a young barista that finds out there's something strange about her heritage, and it might include something about the vampires in town, and she's so sickly but also feels like she has something else under the surface to fight these vampires. I loved it. And obviously I can't talk very much about the sequel because it is directly moving on from the ending of the first one, but I loved the ending of the first one, and this one also looks to be as delightfully angsty and guilty pleasure-like as the first. It's also like 50 pages longer, so I'm really hoping that it carries. I think I could probably read even more than 100 pages a day of this one just because it's got that guilty pleasure feel, and those books tend to be so quick to read. But I originally thought this was a duology and this was the end one, but then when I went to double check, it said the second in the series. I really hope it's a duology because I don't know how I'm going to do this if I start so many series in which each book is like 500 pages. How many maximum month challenges am I going to have to do? Another book I am hoping to get to, and also going back to my desire to get more own voices Asian stories on my TBR, I would like to get to Masters of Deception by J.C. Chang. Editing Margaret here, and yes, I'm aware that I said J.C. Chang instead of J.C. Kang, the actual name of the author. I apologize for that. I don't know if J.K. Rowling invaded my brain or what, but it is Masters of Deception by J.C. Kang. This is one of my review books, and it is basically one of those found families of misfits trying to save the world stories, and I love those. But the leader of this little found family to save the world is a con man. I mean, he's also like the descendant of like these mystical people that helped fight off the orc gods that are trying to take over everyone, and now he's got to like go back and do it again to also keep the orc gods from being reawakened. But he's also a con man, and I think like everyone around in his group is like someone that might have been one of his marks at one point in time, and I love that idea, and I love that we're gonna have all of the morally gray fun stuff, but like actually morally gray, not they're just a bad person but also hot. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, I want more own voices Asian stories on my TBR. If this one goes the way I'm hoping it is, I might be using it in some recommendations videos, and I'm really looking forward to that. I just, gotta actually read it first. And the last one, the chonker, the thick boy, the reason that I will be reading so much over my spring break, that is Coliseum Arcanist by Shami Stovall. I did not bother to check the page count of this book when she asked if I wanted to review it, because it's Shami Stovall. I have adored 5-starred every book she's ever sent me, and I'm already at some point planning to read the book she hasn't sent me, so of course, I don't need to double check even what the plot is. Send it to me, Shami, we're good. And then it came here. This is 700 pages. Say hello to my spring break. This is the third book in the Frith Chronicles, and again, I can't talk too much about the series because while I adored it and it's adorable and you should definitely read it, it's a lot of really bombastic endings that I love. Shami Stovall knows an ending, and this looks to be like one of the most intense ones. We have a tournament, we have an old godlike creature that might be reawakened, we have what the synopsis makes it sound like a betrayal coming from close by. Like, this is all of the good fantasy adventure stuff in a gigantic book by an author that I love. I'm excited, even as much as I'm intimidated in general. I mean, not many authors could do that for me. Not many authors could be like, here's my 700-page book, please read and review. And I'd be like, yeah, sure. But Shami could basically send me like 1,000-page tome on trees talking to each other, and I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's do this. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm hoping I have a great spring break. So those are some of the books that I am hoping to get to. That is not exactly my hard and fast TBR. The couple that I am doing for reviews will probably be like higher up on the list, but I just really want to make sure that I am reading the bigger books that I want to and not getting so caught up in the numbers. And it's weird that I am, because as I said right now, I'm on my 24th book for the year at the end of February. Like, I finished my 100 challenge in September of last year. And also, it's just a book challenge. If I don't beat it, it's not the end of the world. I'm still reading a ton. I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. I just, have to come up with some external validation for why I'm not going to be reading as many books this month. Regardless, if you would be interested in trying something like this, some kind of maximum month you can only read X amount of books or less challenge, let me know. I want to see if anyone else is interested in this kind of idea. I don't intend on being a trendsetter or anything, but I feel like this might help a lot of other people who get caught up in that I must read X amount of books or I'm not valid. We are all valid. We're all readers. We all talk to ourselves in our bedrooms or our offices about books for hours on end. That shit alone should get us in the club. But regardless, with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.